Hello Darts Nuts. I'm going to do a review of something I've never reviewed before, and that's a soft tip board. I've thrown soft tip darts before, but I've never owned a soft tip board, and I've never ever played on a soft tip board. I've only thrown my soft tip darts on my steel tip board, so I'm quite looking forward to playing with this, and it's going to be as much a review as about my experience with soft tip as it is about the actual product. I'm sure there'll be a lot of things that people might want to know which I can't answer, mainly because I haven't got a lot of experience with soft tip boards. But if you have a question about the product and you want me to try and answer it, then just post your comment and I'll try and answer it as best as I can. So this is the board. It's the Dartman Smart board. I don't know if I've got it in shot, to be honest, because I can't get my camera in the right position. This is quite a big box. Anyway, it says on the box 15.5 inch worldwide standard size target area, a 7-inch LCD colour screen, firmware updatable, and iMatch, which I think is just the name for the computer opponent. And these boards retail for around $160 to $180, and you can buy it from China direct from Dartman, or I think there's places in the US and France and Germany where you can buy it as well, but in Europe unfortunately we end up having to pay, especially in the UK, we have to pay a lot of import duty, and obviously the freight will cost more, so you're probably going to be paying around $240 or 240 euros, I think. But that's just because we have to pay so much tax, about 20% or so. Anyway, on the back of the box it says package includes electronic dartboard, operating manual, 1.2 mini USB cable, 1.2 meter mini USB cable. You got 6 flights, 6 shafts, 30 extra soft tips, 6 barrels, a throw line, and the screws for fixing up the board. So I'll just show you what you get in the box. Right, this is what you get in the box. You've got your Dartman throw line. If you've not played soft tips before, the hockey is set to 8 foot, so that's quite a handy little thing to have. And you've got your instructions on how to operate it. It's dead easy, you can pretty much work it out without this, but it has a little diagram for setting up your board. It's the same height as a steel tip board, but the hockey is longer. And this is your USB cable. It's just a mini USB, and that powers up the board. Little 3-point plug there where you just stick it in. I think you could also use a phone charger as well, as long as it's got the same connection. And then you've got some darts with plenty of tips. Now I'm not sure if they're a nickel silver, or there could be a tungsten. They feel as if there might be tungsten, but it's hard to be sure. So you got 2 sets of darts, so you're all set for playing the game. And there's some raw plugs and screws for fixing up the board. So that's what you get inside the box. Let's have a look at the board. I forgot to mention as well, inside the box is this circular foam kind of a mat. I think that you put that on the back of the board just to help quieten it, because if you've never played soft tip, it can make a bit of a noise when the darts are hitting it. It makes a bit of a clatter, so that's handy to have that. Anyway, here's the board. I can't get it all in shot, so it's just a case of me having to move it so you can see it, but again, if you've never played soft tip before, then the segments are, well, the doubles and the triples are a bit bigger, and you are thrown from 8 feet like with normally lighter darts, and although it might seem easier, if you're playing against an opponent, they have the same advantage, so a game with an opponent can be just as exciting as if you were playing on steel tip. But obviously that's a different debate, and I'm not going to go into a steel tip versus soft tip argument. But as this is my first board, I don't really have a great deal to compare it with, so like I said, if you've got any questions that you need to ask which I haven't covered, then you'll have to ask them in the comments. Now, I think the plastic casing on this board, around the outside, it feels a pretty sturdy plastic. It's a little bit flexible on that edges there, where you probably can't see it, but if you can see that bends a little bit, but the wiring sections feel like a hard plastic, and these segments, they feel to me like as if they're a nylon kind of based polymer, or I don't know whether they use other materials on other boards, but that's what that feels like to me. And on the bottom of half of the board, you've got your navigation buttons for the menus. This is your LCD screen, obviously, and the red button is for entering the options that you pick, and it's also to tell the computer when you've finished your throw. On the bottom of the board, let's see if I can get it in shot, you've got your on-off switch, you've got your connection for the USB cable, and this here is a little slot for your micro SD card. Now what that contains is the software for running the computer games and animations, etc., and you also use that to update the firmware. I've already updated the firmware on this, and it was quite easy. All I had to do was clear the card, download the firmware, install it on the card, insert it into the slot and switch on, and it was as simple as that, and then the computer just updated everything. Now I think it's quite a good idea to have something like that, because obviously you can have new animations added, new features, new games maybe. I'll just have a look. On the side of the board you've got these holes. That's to store the darts that come with it. They just stick on, they just fit in like that basically. Now this is what the board looks like on the back. Obviously there'll be some kind of a circuitry going on there with some kind of a sensor that detects when the darts are hitting, and it says there warranty void if removed, so just let you know about that. Right, so what I'll do now is I'll switch it on, and I'll put a close-up of the camera down here so you can see all the menus. Alright, and just starting it up now. Hopefully you should be able to see that. The exposure may be a little bit off on the camera because I've got some lighting around, so the colours may not be exact. It's a bit awkward trying to get this, especially with it's got like a reflective surface. Anyway, these buttons on the left control the movement of the menu bar, and this button here is your return button, makes you go back one, and this is your enter button. If you want to go through the options first, just select options, and you've got an option for setting the brightness of the LCD screen. So, and then an option for the volume. And the eye matches the skill level of the computer opponent, so you've got 5 choices to choose from. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 0, which means it's switched off. When that is blank, that means it's not in operation. If you put it on the first one, say, whatever you select there means it's in operation. So in other words, when you come to play a one-player game, if that is got 1 or more bars on it, then the computer will be the second opponent. If you just want to play by yourself and not against the computer, make sure that's off. The ball lets you determine the scoring value of the ball's area, so you can have it so that all of it counts as 50 points, or you can have it so that it's 25 for the outer ball and 50 for the inner ball. And if you play cricket, you can choose what kind of display you want. Rounds is the number of rounds that you want to play, I think. And I think change time is, I'm not quite sure if that's the time that you've got between changing throws, but I'm not 100% sure on that. Like I say, soft tip isn't something I've played before. And your display colour just changes the background of the LCD options screen, and you can go back to the default setting, yes or no. So I just press the return button and it goes back to here. Let's have a look at this rating. That tells you, well, it's pretty much a skill level rating. Rating 1 is 0 to 13.32 points per dart. In cricket, it's marks per round. If you're a cricket player, you'll probably understand that one more than me. And the other thing with this is, if you click on Play Info, you can keep a record of how well you've been doing. So you can input your name and it keeps up to date with all your games and everything, and then all you do on this screen is select the character or the name that you want to check. There's nothing on there at the moment, but it will give you a record of your achievements. Career Games 301. This is where you can put in a new name. So if I put in new role, and then you give yourself a name, use that to and I think you can pick a character as well, but I haven't played too much on that. But then it comes up in there, and then you play your games as that character, and it'll record the stats. But if you just want to get started with a game, just go to games, and these are all the options for games. You've got O1, cricket, count up, there's games in there, other game 1, other game 2, and exercise. So let's have a look in them first. Over, under and big 6, so that's 3 different games you can play. And on that one you've got round the clock, hit out, Shanghai and half it. Now this is probably where the updatable firmware can probably come into play, because it'll probably allow you to add extra games, and that's quite a good idea. Exercise, I think that's just yeah, this must be where that rounds thing comes in. You've got 30 rounds and you just throw your darts and it'll record what your score is. So let's have a look at 01. So you've got an option of from 301 up to 1501. So if we go on 501, then you've got option open in, open out, double in, open out, open in, double out, which is the more normal one. I'm not sure what open in, master out is. That might be something unique to soft tip. I don't really know. I'll have to have a check on that one. Open in, double out, we'll try that. So we go one player. Now I'm just going to hit a 180 just so you can see the animation. And then when you've had your throw, you take your darts out first, then you press the red button. I'll hit the bullseyes. Three in the black. I'm good. And left myself a finish though. But if you look on the screen, it'll give you options to take a finish. Obviously I can't do that on this round because I've already thrown a dart. So I set myself up. Sticks a little bit sometimes, so double top. So that's basically it. I'm not going to go through every game and every animation, but I'll just see whether that gives you an indication of your stats. I'll just see if it gives you anything special for a 9 darter. Open in, double out. That's telling you to go treble 20, treble 15, but I won't. I thought it might give you something different for a 9 darter, but I guess that might be something that if people request they can add it to a firmware update. Not that I'll ever get a 9 darter, like, only by pressing it with my fingers. And then you got your stats of that. Now if you were doing this in the career mode, it would record that and keep it in memory for your particular character. So I'll just set the board up now and throw some darts at it. Right then, what I'm going to do is I'm going to play against the computer. So go to options. I've got iMatch set on level 1. The bullseye is 50 for inner and 25 for outer. So it's just the same scoring as on steel tip. As you can see, I've got the board set up on my stand, which is a bit wobbly, but it should be perfectly okay for this. So press enter, go to games, 501 games, 501, open in, double out, and one player. If this is done right, then the computer should come up as a robot. Yeah, the computer's as a robot as it should be, and I'm thrown from the 8-foot hockey as well, and I'm using the 16 gram Bullfighter Aoun darts. Now, I don't have a strong throw, so throwing from an 8-foot hockey with lighter darts than what I'm normally used to might be a bit of a challenge, but I'll give it a go. I might need to just take a while to get used to these, but for the purpose of this I'm just going to go for it. Like I said before, pull your darts out first, then press the red button and the PC or the computer will have these go. You'd think these bigger trebles would be easier to hit, but getting used to throwing from the 8-foot feels a bit weird. I think I'm a bit nervous there. Alright, I didn't think I'd have much chance against that. Got to get used to throwing from 8-foot with the lighter dart. Like I said before in my reviews, I only have quite a gentle throw and could do with a little bit more power to get the lighter darts from that distance, but it was quite fun that actually. I do quite like playing the computer. It gives you something to like test your skill against. Press the red button and it should come up with the stats. The computer's highest throw was 156. Highest round was 156 and my highest round was 124, and the computer's average was 35.7 per dart. Mine was 24.5, which is not really good, but it's not too bad for the first go. What I'll do now is I'll see if I can get what I'm going to try as well, is I'm going to try these heavier darts just to see what happens, but I'll throw these and I'll see if I can get a close-up of the dart going into the hole, just to let you see what it looks like. Right, that was just a little short close-up of the darts going into the board. What I want to do now is I want to have a throw with these heavier soft tip darts. I think these are a Shot 916 24-gram dart. I know most machines won't take darts heavier than 18 or 20 grams, but I don't know what the limit is on this board. My guess is it'll probably be 18 or 20 grams with it being a home board, but I just want to see what happens when I throw these 24-gram. Well, throwing these from the 8-foot hockey, with them being a bit heavier, certainly feels a bit easier. Does make quite a heavier sound like on impact, but I don't really know if it's going to do any damage. Obviously I don't think it's going to damage the segments, but whether the impact of the heavy weight hitting the sensor might damage it, I don't really know, but it doesn't seem to be doing any damage. But obviously you can't tell, but I might have to play with them a bit longer and see whether it does actually damage the board. But I couldn't find any information about the limit of the weight limit of the board, so but to be on the safe side, you're probably best sticking with maybe 18 or 20 grams, and maybe just until it gets confirmed that whether you can use a heavier dart. But all in all, it's quite an impressive board, and for my first soft tip board experience, I really enjoyed it. I was surprised how harder it is thrown from an 8-foot hockey though, especially with bigger treble and double segments. I thought it would be easier, but obviously the dart was lighter, so that few extra inches makes it harder, especially when I haven't got a harder throw. But I'm hoping that playing the soft tip game will improve my steel tip game a little, because getting the lighter darts to fly better should help me with my steel tip game, and it's quite enjoyable playing against the computer, and I know it's quite a lot of fun actually. I know it's some people aren't into soft tip, but if you're a steel tipper and you've never played it before, I'd say definitely give it a go. You'll probably enjoy it. It's a different game really, and you can't really compare the two because it's a different kind of a game of darts really. But unless you've played it properly, you're never going to know, and I'm looking forward to playing this more. So there you go, that's the end of the review. Thanks for watching.